This edition of the Tech Savvy Interpreter is brought to you by TikTok. On TikTok, you as the interpreter can set up your own profile page, put down your skills, and state your own price. You can then promote your page with a personalized URL. Customers can find you via TikTok, Google, and other search engines and book you directly. Learn more at TikTok.com. Welcome to the April 2017 edition of the Tech Savvy Interpreter. For this edition, we'll take a look at ZipDX Multilingual, a platform built to provide remote simultaneous interpretation for conference calls, webinars, and virtual meetings. This video will focus on one specific use case, multilingual conference calls with remote simultaneous interpretation. This month's video is unique for a couple of reasons. First, for the sake of full disclosure, in 2011, I helped design, test, and launch the ZipDX Multilingual platform. So this video shouldn't be considered a completely unbiased review. In fact, I have hesitated to write about ZipDX in the Tech Savvy Interpreter column in the past, although it is arguably one of the oldest remote simultaneous interpretation platforms on the market today. So don't take my words at face value. I encourage you to verify all the assertions made in this month's video. Second, whenever I learn about a new interpreting delivery platform, the first question I ask is, what's the main use case? The reason is simple. Good platforms are built around specific use cases. They don't try to be all things to all people. In the case of ZipDX, unlike other remote simultaneous interpretation platforms on the market today, its main use case is audio conferencing. That's right, audio conferencing. Not video conferencing, not telepresence, not video remote interpreting, just audio conferencing, mainly conference calls with telephones. Why, you ask? Well, despite all the internet-based communication technologies available today, the phone is still the preferred method the world over for voice communications. Large parts of the globe still don't have dependable broadband internet access to use many of the voice over IP and WebRTC services currently available. What is more, the telephone is still the only truly universal communications platform where anyone can pick up their phone and call any other phone on the planet. Although not flashy, with all the conference calls that take place every day around the globe, there is a solid use case for providing simultaneous interpretation for conference calls. So let's take a look at the platform. In today's video, you'll see two different segments. First, I'll show you how an interpreter logs on to a multilingual conference call using a computer and WebRTC technology. Then we'll see a short English-Spanish bilingual conference call in action from an English speaker's point of view. So let's get started.
First of all, let me show you how an interpreter connects to a conference call. So to do that, I have logged in with my interpreter profile on the ZipDX homepage, and so I have this screen appear. It shows my name, my email address, and also that I have a conference that is in progress that I need to connect to. So I'll be using two buttons here. First, I'll launch my web phone or the Zip Line Virtual Interpreter Console, and then the dashboard. All I have to do is click on these buttons right here. So I'll click on the web phone.
Connected in English.
One other participant.
And so I am now connected via the Zipline Virtual Interpreter Console to the conference. One other tool that the interpreter uses a lot is the dashboard. So I will go ahead, let's move this out of the back for the moment, and I'll click on the dashboard, and the dashboard opens up. So we'll come back to these two tools, the dashboard and the Virtual Interpreter Console. And as you can see on the Virtual Interpreter Console, I have my volume control, I have the interpreting on and off buttons, I have my directionality buttons. This is the equivalent of the A/B switch, where I decide if I'm working into English or into Spanish for the purposes of this call. So you can see I've now switched over to the Spanish channel, and back to the English channel. And I also have a monitor feature, which I won't be able to show for you how it works for this call, but the monitor feature, what it does is it simulates the audio conditions in the booth where you are listening to your booth mate who's in the booth with you and the floor audio at the same time as you prepare to take over or to begin your turn interpreting. And so by turning monitor on, you can actually get a mix of the floor audio and the audio of your colleague who is interpreting from some other spot. Then, of course, you have the mute buttons, which are muting and unmuting. Finally, you can hang up since you are connected to a call, and then the drop-down menus here allow you to select your speakers and your microphone in use for the call. Over to the dashboard quickly. The dashboard provides you with a lot of information about the call. Who's connected? In this case, it's just me, and I'm connected also as the organizer, so my name appears twice. But here is the interpreter. That's me. I'm connected via the Zipline interpreter console, so my audio is actually an HD voice or wideband, and then I'm connected using a cell phone as well. And you can see what channel each participant is on. So if I move to the Spanish channel, you'll see that that's how I'm working. There's an audio indicator that shows that I'm putting audio into the system. The activity box shows that I'm actually talking. And then you have the ability to chat with the organizer or with your fellow interpreter in the virtual booth. And we divide the chat into different tabs. So you have floor chat. This is for the wait room. If people are waiting there, you can chat with them. And then we've set up the different language tabs. So if I'm working into Spanish, I can just simply tell my partner we'll use the ES tab, and that way we can send each other messages. There are a lot of other functions on the dashboard, but I'm not going to get into those today. This just gives you a quick idea of how the two interfaces work. The dashboard that provides the interpreter with situational awareness, and the virtual interpreter console that functions just like a console in a regular conference interpreting booth. What we're going to do now is actually simulate a bilingual conference call. In this case, it's going to be English and Spanish. And in a moment, I'll turn the time over to Sydney, who is going to be the call moderator, if you will, for the conversation. Let me just mention quickly that Sydney will be speaking in English, and she's on the English channel. Lucia is on the Spanish channel and will be speaking in Spanish. And Nathan is actually on the floor channel, so he can listen to the original languages. And since he's bilingual, he can speak in either language however he would like and participate as a bilingual participant on the call. So I will go ahead and start the interpreting, and my colleague today, Sarah, who is also going to be interpreting, will be working with me remotely. So with that, let me turn it over to Sydney, and I'm going to turn on interpretation.
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to be here with you. I'd love to get your opinions, how you see technology forming a part of your careers, and just kind of what you think, what your experiences have been with different forms of TNI and technology, and just get your take on your experiences and your opinion. So Lucia, I'm curious to know what your experiences have been, and if you have any opinions on any sort of technology, really anything that you'd like to share would be great.
Sí, claro. Muchísimas.
Yes, of course. Thank you for inviting me to talk today. I think the question is a very interesting one because it is an important topic for us. And I think that we know quite a bit now about these different technologies. We've learned a lot about remote interpreting. And in reality, I think that this helps us a lot to be ready for the future and to enter into the interpreting market and be able to work remotely. So I think that's going to be very beneficial for us in the future.
Thanks for sharing, Lucia. And I'm curious to know, has there been any technology that you've run into or that you've used during your time at MIS or elsewhere that you've found particularly useful or interesting?
Sí, claro. De hecho, nosotros en MIS.
Yes, of course. In MIS, we are actually doing classes and practicing with the ZipDX platform. Honestly, it's been a great discovery for me because in the past I couldn't have imagined that I would be interpreting in one part of the country and they would be hearing me in another part of the country. But with this tool, we don't just interpret, but we can share documents while we interpret. We can use video and we can see documents on the screen. And it's a new type of interpretation that we have to get used to in order to use, but if you do, it's extremely useful.
Thank you very much for sharing. I've also enjoyed using ZipDX and becoming more accustomed to it.
So there you have it. ZipDX Multilingual from an interpreter's perspective, and then from the perspective of a participant on the English channel. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope it's been informative so you can see just how remote simultaneous interpretation is provided for conference calls. One thing I do want to mention is that ZipDX does come with other collaboration features that you can use if you are in front of a computer, screen share and video. But since they were not the focus of today's use case, I didn't show those. But there you have it. I hope you've enjoyed this month's edition of the Tech Savvy Interpreter, and I look forward to bringing you more interpreting technology in future videos. Thanks for watching.